Now, this is the part that we keep between you and me, all right? Because if my wife finds out about this, she's going to kill me. Not so good. So I use my, oops. So I'm going to put in some pilot holes. Oh dear. Ooh. Ah, see? Real world pinching. I needed to put a new gate up at my house. Here's one of the doors. You can see that it was like disintegrating. It just been there for a while. It's fallen off the hinges. I really got to learn to take before and afters because I know people like that, but I forgot to. So just imagine this falling off the hinges into the dirt. That's what I'm trying to replace. So I went to Home Depot and I got this kit. I chose this one because it was the only one they had, but also because they say that it never sags and is adjustable. And I have like a 10-foot area, 2 5-foot fences, and those doors, when I took them off, they must weigh like 130 pounds. And you can see our handsome model here is actually standing on it, so I need that sort of strength. Now the thing is, when I tried to put up the fence, the instructions were terrible, and I said somebody should make a video for all the people out there who want to put up this gate and explain it better. So that's what I did, and I feel confident doing that because look, I already put half of it up. So now I'm going to put the other half up. On the right, you'll see the first kit I bought. And then on the left, you'll see the second kit I bought. And they're actually the same kit. They're just packaged differently. And you know, I wish I would have bought the second one first because it came with a QR code that takes me to a YouTube video, which explains it quite well. Much better than the instructions. But I didn't know I had those resources at the time. So let me show you my strategy. Then watch that company YouTube video and you tell me which one you like more. Looking at the finished version, you can see that there's 2 hinges, that one pointing down and that one pointing up. And the way that you figure out where to locate those, you find the midpoint of your pole, which was there. I might have marked somewhere. There it is. And then you measure up and down 16 inches. Looking at it from here, you can see that the left post is shorter than the right post. So actually I did all my measurements on the shorter pole, like what the midpoint is, and then just took those measurements over to this side. I didn't find the midpoint of this one, of course, or the gates would be uneven. Hopefully the gates will not be uneven, but that's what we're going to find out. Let's see if I measured right. To put in these holes, you're going to want a 1/2-inch spade bit. It looks like this. If you don't have one, go out and buy one because it makes the job so much easier. You also want to make sure that you drill the hole straight in, you know, you drill the hole level. And your drill should have a level on it that'll help you tell. Unfortunately, my level, the water leaked out or evaporated or something, so I have no idea. I have to eyeball this, which is absolutely terrifying to me. Also, make sure that you drill the correct way, righty-tighty. Cool. Now, in theory, there should be 32 inches between, right? Let's find out. You're like, Tom, didn't you measure that ahead of time? Would have been the smart thing to do. 32 inches. I am so bad at YouTube. I forget everybody likes an unboxing video. So let's unbox this. Let's see. We got parts and parts and parts. And of immediate interest is the hinges that I pointed out earlier. Look at these big honking things. And these are going to go into that pressure treated lumber. Once they go in, they are never coming out. But getting them in is the challenge. So let me show you what hoops I went through before I finally came up with a solution. And one of the problems with putting in the post hinges was the instructions here. Using the adjustable wrench end, screw each post hinge into the post. Do you know what an adjustable wrench end is? Neither did I, not until I watched the video. Let me show you the different things I tried. They said something about a crescent wrench, and I saw that there was one flat area here, and I thought, well, am I supposed to put the wrench here and then twist it? So I gave that a try. So putting these post hinges in is hard because we drilled a 1/2-inch hole. But this is bigger than 1/2 inch. Once this thing goes in, I'll tell you what, it's not coming out. So I'm going to tap it just to get it started. Now, even if you have delicate computer hands like me, you might be able to get a couple twists in just using the end of this as a lever. And that should have been my first clue on how to properly do this. I'm already kind of out of juice and I need a second plan. So I still had wrench on my mind. Remember, because it said use the end of your crescent wrench or your adjustable wrench. So I got some vice grips. I said a adjustable wrench is never going to work, but vice grips will work, right? And I latch these things on. And for a little bit, they did give me enough mechanical advantage to twist it. It's already failing. Let me tighten it up a little more just to show you the steps I went through. This is not the correct way. So now I'm really clamped on, right? And you can see that now I can turn it a little bit. And this works for a few turns, but eventually the wrench starts to slip. It's not up to the challenge because there's nothing to grab onto, right? I'm grabbing onto some round metal. So what was the next thing I did? But I was thinking, I really need to put like some sort of breaker bar over the end of that. Then I can twist it real easily. Now, this is the part of the video that you can't let my wife know about because I'm an ex-computer programmer. I'm not a mechanic. I don't have pipes lying around that I can just like twist chunks of steel into wood with. So I searched high and low throughout the shed out back, and I found this old curtain rod. Now, I'm sure that I shouldn't be using this curtain rod. I'm sure it's very expensive, but it's been sitting out there for like 10 or 12 years. So I felt okay. Plus, I was very frustrated at this point. I had spent a lot of time with that vice grip trying to make it work, and it just wasn't working. So I said, let's get this done. Now, of course, the obvious problem is that this is a curtain rod. It's made of very thin metal and is not in any way designed to do this job. But check it out. It fits perfectly, and it makes it so easy to twist this in. Amazing, right? But like I said, the curtain rod is a curtain rod. It's thin metal, not designed for such things. And you can see what happened once we really started torquing it in there and the resistance grew. Of course, this metal didn't stand a chance. But it did the job, and it put the idea in my head of what I really need to do. Now, if you're still wondering what the instructions meant by the end of a crescent wrench, or at the end of an adjustable wrench, this is what they meant. And I only found this out when I watched the video. They meant take the end. This is an adjustable wrench, but you get the idea. Put it like that and use that as your lever to twist it around, which works. Not going to lie. And I wish I had known that. Then I wouldn't have, destroyed a perfectly innocent curtain rod. But there's even something better. For entirely too much money, you can go to the plumbing section of Home Depot and buy this actual piece of pipe and use that as your lever. It costs entirely too much money, but I mean, look how easy it makes the job. And no curtain rods were damaged in the process. And this one ends facing down. Now I watched another video about a guy who did the same kit, and he left it facing up. And the reason he left it facing up is because he said he wanted to lift the gate off if it came to that. The reason it faces down is because if this one faces down, this one faces up, then that gate's kind of locked in and nobody can steal it. And I don't know if gates being stolen is a real problem. I've never heard of it, but that's why they have this one facing down, so that once you secure it, it's in place. I don't know. I'm going to follow the instructions, but the other guy left it up so he could just lift the whole gate off. Okay, let's put the bottom one in. Now, a challenge is that this rod might hit the ground, and that would make me sad. I might have to actually dig like a trench out so I can spin this around. Let's find out. Sometimes it's hard to get it to initially bite into the wood. I'm trying to hammer it in so it'll bite in, but not so good. Let's see how far my delicate hands can take this. All right. Now, when you're initially turning this in, if you didn't drill the hole levelly or anything, this is your opportunity to make sure it's going in straight. Uh-oh. I put these pavers down. That was part of the adventure. But I guess I have to undo my work. Oops. Fail. This is really the toughest part. I don't know if I've already said that. Believe it or not, I have no script for this, so I'm not quite sure what I've said already. Let me just make sure it's going in straight. I mean, obviously there's a little play in the system. You don't have to be laser perfect. I'd like to be laser perfect. I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well be perfect, but it's not always possible. But this is pretty good. Plus, I don't have a laser. Can you imagine trying to do this without the bar? I mean, this is hard with the bar. That's why I was getting very frustrated. And that's why the curtain rod disintegrated. I mean, you can see how much force I'm putting into this. You can also see that this thing will never, ever come out of the wood. I believe you could probably use that as a suspension point for the Golden Gate Bridge. That is not moving. Now we have our hinge posts, one up, one down. This is kind of concerning. There's some slack in the system, but I hope that it compensates for my kind of somewhat bent pin there. Looking at my ragamuffin workbench here, pull out these pieces. So these are the ends of the gate, and there's like a hinge side, and there is a end of the gate side, latch side, and it's actually listed on here somewhere, or it was on the other one. Huh, this one doesn't list it. I wonder if it fell off. How do I know which one's which if it fell off? See, I bought this box used. This box had been opened. Okay, I don't know what to say. The other kit had one labeled hinge side, but they appear to be very, very similar. The important thing to note is that there's this hole, and when you put the hinge side on, this hole has to be towards the top. That's going to be for the cable that braces it. I'll show you that later. Anyway, let's pretend this is the hinge side and hope everything goes well. Reaching into our bag of tricks here, we have the two hinge brackets, and we have the bolts that go with it. So let's go strap this onto our post. The idea here is super easy. These brackets go around the frame and then just sit on the post. So take the bolt, and you'll put the bolt with the top of the bolt, the head of the bolt, I don't know. Put that towards the side that's facing the pickets. We're gonna just finger tight this on for right now. And you can see that it goes like that. And then the other one, of course, same thing. And this goes into there. Now, the challenge is, besides my leg cramping up, is that these have to be at the same height as those. And I won't know if they are or not until I start putting this together. So I'm going to just tighten it up to hold it in place, but I have the feeling I'll be adjusting it later. So I use my 9/16 ratchet and just tighten this thing up. Tight enough where it locks into place, but not so tight that, you know, I'm gonna have to undo it eventually. All right, so that's holding it in place. So I can slide that one up here. Perfect. Cool, right? Now, how I'm gonna match it up with that side, I'm not exactly sure yet. Now I'm gonna put in the two telescoping arms. You can see that these arms have little holes in them. I'm trying to see if you can see. Yeah, so you can see that they have holes in them. That's how you attach those 2x4s to the frame. The 2x4s add structure, of course, but they also give you a way to attach those pickets to the fence. Got to screw them into something. Okay, so this is the part that I struggle with because I have to measure how long of a 2x4 I need. But to do that, the guy in the video kind of like measured it and then took everything apart and put it together, and that just didn't work for me. So my strategy is to take the hinge side here, put it to where I want it, with the understanding that it's kind of bent, so my measurements aren't going to be perfect. But I kind of want it, you know, as close as reasonable to the existing one. And now I'm going to measure how long of a 2x4 I need, knowing that this measurement's not going to be perfect. Also knowing there's a little play in the system, so it's okay if it's not perfect. And I get 55 inches. So I'm going to cut a 2x4 to 55 inches and hope for the best. Yesterday the camera died, but I continued working. I cut the 2x4s to fit, and then I called it a day. I have a friend who's retired. He says you don't want to do too much work every day or you run out of stuff to do. The last kit had everything thrown all together into one bag. I had to fish it out, but this separated the different screws, so that's cool. These are the 21-inch wood screws that we're going to use to attach the 2x4s to the frame. So there's two schools of thought here, the recommended one and then mine. And the recommended one is that you already know how long this 2x4 is. You measured it and cut it. So you have all the pieces, just screw it all together in the garage, right? And then bring it out here and hook it up. But to me, I want to be exact, because just because I measured it doesn't mean I measured it right. So I want to come out here and see if I have to like finagle it a little bit, because there is a little bit of wiggle room in these brackets here. And I can get this really close. And I can use my level here to see, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's going to be really hard to be perfectly level with me just holding onto it like this. But I think that gap is good in the gate. Hopefully the camera's picking it up. So what I'm going to do is struggle, but I'm going to put a few pilot holes into that while somehow holding on to this. This is good YouTubing right here. So I'm going to put these pilot holes in, left-handed. Give everybody a break. Did I bring my drill bit out? Of course not. Let me go get my drill bit. Of course, when I said drill bit, I meant the bit that allows me to put the screws in. You're saying, Tom, would this be easier if you had like a friend to help you? Yes. Yes, it would. But I don't have any friends. Forever alone. But once I put a few screws in, I'll be good. I don't need anybody. And you didn't think it could be done. There's 2 screws on the other side, so let me do that. You know what's wild is that this is really close to level with this one. I wonder if it's going to work out. Am I that good at measuring? Let's add this other side to it. Okay, here's a useful bit of info rather than watching my antics, is that this cable runs, you can see it runs from the bottom to the top. So make sure that when you put this side on, that the hole is at the bottom. This should be a little bit easier to work with. And I hope that gap isn't, well, it doesn't have to be that big. Like I said, there's a little play in it, right? You can slide this bracket a little bit that way. Let's make our pilot holes. Now we'll just put the wood screws in. I'll put the other side in. Now we're cooking with gas. Don't lose the screws. Now I'll put on the bottom 2x4. It should be easier. And I mean, it'll still be a bit of a struggle, but I'm not going to bore you with it. Let me just go do it. I'll leave the camera running. It might be kind of comical to watch me crawl around and get confused. You're probably thinking, well, Tom, at least it's not hot out, right? It's late November and it's not too warm. Yeah, it's like 80 degrees in late November. Thanks, Al Gore. My goodness, working up a sweat here. Okay, clearly I'm really struggling here. I've just gotten it too close to this other side. It's going to smash into it. But I do have like a ½ inch or something. I can move it this way, which would be great. It's just that I don't know if these screws will have anything to bite into. So let me take it apart and see what happens. Let's not lose the screws. Okay, I've shoved this gate back as far, so now this is as far as it can go. I'm going to drill some pilot holes, but it looks like with that clearance we'll be good to go. So okay, now we're to the point where we were about 30 minutes ago, where I was trying to put the bottom 2x4 on. All right. Let's see, I got one screw holding this whole thing together. So let me take that screw out. Man, whoever built this level that I've dropped on the concrete 17 times, give them an official endorsement on my channel. Let's see. It says Johnson Levels. It's also made in China, so I don't know who Mr. Johnson is, but Johnson Levels. You can drop them on concrete and they'll still keep working. All right. This is held together with the power of friction. These brackets are tight enough to hold this in place, so let's try this again. I'm going to start on this side here because I'm kind of lifting it up and holding it flush, because I'm really concerned about this area here being flush because the whole thing is kind of crooked still. Do I overthink it? Maybe. Do I want it to be perfect? Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, when you work with computers, it can be perfect because it's not a real thing. You know, it's just numbers and stuff. So there's none of this real world issue like gravity or splinters. Well, I guess gravity's an issue if you're like dealing with rockets, but you know what I mean. I was in banking, so we didn't have to worry about gravity. We just had to worry about losing people's money. Both are important, I guess. If you're in an airplane, you care more about gravity. Day to day, you probably care more that your bank doesn't lose your money. Ooh. Ah, see? Real world pinching. How do engineers do it? How do bridge builders and auto mechanics do it? Got all these things trying to hurt them. And then the screwdriver twists the wrong way. Give me something easy like cloud-based caching or something. Speaking of engineers, let's do some engineering here. What am I holding on to all these boards for? Look at that. That's crazy. Okay, but that's not level. Gonna shim it with that cardboard. Didn't quite shim it enough. That's level. Now I'm going to attach these telescoping arms here and here, and then here. There's pre-drilled holes, so it shouldn't be hard. So we have 10, so we'll put 3 on the bottom. I'm sorry, 5 on the bottom, 5 on top. Almost there. Okay, so let's talk about that whole cable truss kit. So what we have here is this little, I don't know what you call it, but what you do is you slip the cable through and make a loop and slip it back through. And then you tighten it down. I believe it's called the cable tightener downer, but I'll look up the real name. I'm showing you this because the instructions are comically vague, even though it seems kind of straightforward. So you just, put your wire through and then tighten it down. Now, because they give you a lot of wire, I'm actually pull a lot through. But anyway, you tighten these up so that the wire can't slip back out. Okay, now I've got this mostly tightened. I can still slide it a little bit, but keep it mostly tightened. Now we're going to take the turnbuckle and you're going to unscrew it until you almost completely undo it, right? And then we hook it to the fence. If you remember what I told you about there being a hole up towards the top of this side, then you'll find it and you'll put your turnbuckle in there. They've given you this to put in the hole in the bottom, in the bottom of the other gate. But what do you put in? The big loop or the little loop? The instructions are very unclear, so I went to watch the video, which is also unclear. So I asked ChatGPT, who hallucinates a lot, but it's told me to use the little one in the fence. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so take the little S part, put it in that hole there. We take our loop, remember that's mostly tightened. Man, how big of a gate were they planning on us making here? Goodness gracious. Right? This is kind of tight, as tight as we can kind of get it without killing ourselves. So let's finish screwing these in with our incorrect tool so that it clamps down on the cable. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, it looks like all my fussing was worth it because our gate's almost already level, but I'm going to turn this turnbuckle, right? And as I turn it, it's going to tighten up this cable, and that's going to give, that's going to give our whole gate that structural support, that whole non-sagginess that they brag about. So let me turn this turnbuckle. This is like a two-hand job, so hold on. So yeah, the struggle was real, but look, the payoff, it's level. Oh, let's check this one. I should have checked this one before I filmed. Oh yeah, look at that. Pretty much perfect. I don't think anybody's gonna notice. Now, did I get this perfect? No, I did not. Do you think anybody's gonna know? I don't think so. I mean, if I was crazy, I could loosen these brackets here and raise it up a zillionth of an inch. I don't know, am I crazy? I don't know, my kind of neurotic brain's telling me that's something I should really do. Make it perfect. Yeah, let's do it since we're here. Oh man, that's really close, right? Do we really need to go any better than that? I don't think so. If I can find where I dropped my level. That poor level. That poor Johnson Level, official sponsor of Tom Lynch Gate construction. Okay, that makes me happy. That makes me happy. Look at this Johnson Level go. I bet we could drop this thing from an airplane. Okay, could we have done any better? I don't know if our results could be any better. They're pretty good. Could the effort and the tomfoolery have been improved upon? Yes, that was quite ridiculous, but as my first attempt at it, I'm sure if I were to ever do it again, I'd still be bad. But if I did it like 10 more times, I'd be really good. Okay, I guess the next step would be to put the pickets up. But it's getting late. It's 3 o'clock.